So you guys finished reading the tessellation booklet on the history of tessellations and how they've changed over time. And you finished up on this page right here. We looked at the digital example. Now I need you to turn to page 21. Okay, this is going to give us step-by-step directions on how to do a translation tessellation. Okay, there are 3 different types that we're going to practice before you get your final. Our final, we're going to be painting with watercolor. So here's an example. Neither of these are fully painted because I still use them to do my painting demonstrations on. We're going to be using warm and cool colors. And then here is the tessellation card that you'll be making. Okay, here's another example. So if you notice, these shapes, when we're all done, are not going to look like squares, which is the shape that we're going to start off with. And that's our goal for our final. Okay, so we're going to practice translation, rotation, and reflection before you get your final card. So to practice our translation, we need to start off with a square note card. Okay, you're going to have a note card that looks like this. And so when I measure one side of it, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see this a little bit better. Let me focus here. Okay, so when I measure one side and I start on this mark right here, not the edge of the ruler, when I measure this side, it's 3 inches for the note card. Okay, so I need to make sure that this side is 3 inches. That means that this side needs to be 3 inches. So I'm going to measure on my card. Got my computer in the way. Hold on. Okay, so I'm matching up the edge right here. I'm going to make a mark at 3 inches on one side. Now, I would love to just take my ruler and pretend I can draw a straight line, but I can't draw a straight line without having 2 marks. So I need to make another mark down here at 3 inches. Then I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to connect those 2 marks and draw my line down. Okay. Now I'm going to take my scissors and cut this out on the line as close as I possibly can. Now I have a 3-inch by 3-inch square. If your square is not perfect, the rest of the steps are going to be very difficult. So make sure that you measure this correctly and cut correctly. We do not need this part of our note card anymore, so you can throw that in the garbage. Okay. All right, so looking at our booklet, we need to draw this curved line up top. That's our first step. If it doesn't look exactly like the book, that's absolutely fine. Okay. What's important is that you go corner to corner. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a line corner to corner. Mine doesn't look exactly like the book, and that's fine. Now, when I drew this, I didn't go exactly to the corner, so I need to make sure that when I cut it, I'm cutting exactly to the corner. So I'm going to cut it out. Oh, I moved it up a little bit. Okay. Then I'm going to draw the next line. And the book shows it right here, corner to corner, and I'm going to cut it out. Okay, then I'm going to cut that out. Okay, so now I've got them cut out and I'm at this step right here. So I go down to the next one. So the piece that I cut out here, I'm going to slide directly down and I'm going to tape it to the bottom. You guys will have a roll of masking tape, so you just take a piece of tape off of it. Each table or pod will be sharing masking tape. And then here's what I do to make sure that I have no gaps and overlaps. Remember in the text, it said it over and over and over again, no gaps, no overlaps. So what I do is I put tape on half of my piece here and I roll it back. So that way I can push this piece of paper right up next to it. And this is why it's important to go corner to corner, so I can match up corner to corner. I don't want to overlap and I don't want to have any gaps. So now I can just roll that tape over the side. Okay. Now I'm going to look at where I'm going to tape this piece. Let's see, it shows me right here. So I just slide it across and tape it on. If you tape it and you have an overlap like this, or if you have a gap, your tessellation is not going to repeat on itself and it's not going to fit when we trace it. Okay, so again, I'm going to take my tape. I can even do it on this side right here. I'm going to roll it back. I'm going to place this right up next to it so there's no gaps, no overlaps, and then I'm just going to roll the tape over. If your tape goes over the side, that's fine. Just cut it off. And I actually like to use those little pieces of tape to secure my corners in other places. So I'll take the little tape that I have, and this piece looks like it's really flimsy, so I'm just going to add a little bit of tape here. Okay, now that I have my card done, I can trace it. You guys can pause the video and get to this step before you're ready to trace. I'm going to continue with the video, so you guys, whenever you're ready, you just continue and play the video. Okay, so when you're tracing, you're going to do a practice tracing on your free draw paper. Remember, free draw paper is in the blue box, the middle of the rim, if you guys need free draw paper. Okay, so what I'm going to do is practice and see if this will actually do what it's supposed to. So I need to start with my original corner in the corner of the paper. When I say original corner, it's your original corner of your note card that you haven't cut yet. So I outline mine, okay? So this is the only corner that hasn't been cut yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the corner of my paper, making sure that this line matches up with the edge of the paper, making sure that this line matches up with the edge of the paper. Okay, then I'm going to trace it. You guys will trace with pencil. I'm tracing with Sharpie so you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay, now if I did this correctly, when I slide it over, it should match up like a puzzle piece. Okay, so I would go all the way across, filling this in, making sure that the top also aligns with the top of the paper. Now the free draw paper is not cut right at 90 degrees, so it's going to be a little bit off, and that's okay. I just continue, like I said, all the way across. And then I come back to the beginning, and if I've done this correctly, again, if I tape the top part right, I should be able to slide this down, and again, it's going to fit like a puzzle piece. And then I just continue tracing until my entire paper is filled. This is the translation lady. What you do is you fill in this entire paper, you save it in your folder. The next one we're going to practice is rotating rabbit, and then we'll do reflecting bird. You will need to show all 3 of these papers filled out, your free draw papers filled out, before you can get your final note card. So make sure that you do not lose this and you keep track of it. If you're not finished when the class moves on to rotating rabbit, that's okay. Just keep this card, keep this paper, and when you have work time, you can work on that and get ready for your final.